Uh, Hi, this is Tammy. So today I'm about to analyze a characteristics named Zhen Yisao. So in the book A Universal History of Empathy, Borges created a series of legendary characteristics. Among one of them is Widow Jane. Jane South's life is really legendary. She had various uh, roles. She started from being prostitute and then became pirate queen in China. Her early years read as though they were right straight from a novel. Yeah, and from the body's writing style, we can find that he tries to blur the lines of fiction and the non-fiction. But we have to admit that there are some descriptions that are not correspond to historical effects. So in the following presentation, I like to point to descriptions that are not correspond to historical fact. The first one is mystery of Jay's death. The second one is imagery of widow. So let's first encounter the first one, the mystery of Jay's death. And I also found a lot of supporting to support my standpoint. Yeah, according to University of Oxford, in 1800, Jane Yi died, and according to one account, high winds whisked him from the deck of his ship into rough waters. Another vision Another vision described how he took a direct hit from a cannonball during battle. So from these two versions, we can infer that there are no there no version indicates Zheng Yi was killed by his shareholders. However, in in the book A Universe of Infinity, Baoji say that Zheng Yi was killed by his shareholders, which can be reflected in the text. True to their old fears, however, these fishermen rose up in revolt, and the authorities set upon another course, that of parenting Qin by appointing him master of royal sables. Qin was about to accept a bribe. Finding this out in time, the shareholders made their righteous indignation evident in a plate of poisoned greens cooked with rice, the monster providing deadly. The one-time admiral and would-be master of the royal stables gave up his ghost of gods of the sea. So this is the first point that Borges' description is not correspond to historical fact. And in the following presentation, I would like to focus on the image of Widow Tree. And in the book, Borges described Widow Jane in an unattractive way. He stated he was a slinking woman with sleepy eyes and a smile full of delicate teeth. Her blackish oiled hair shone brighter than her eyes. From his description, we can find that Widow Jane is not a beauty woman. And what also deserves attention is that Borges describes other West pirates. He stated, another lady, Buck, buccaneer of those senses was anybody, a good-looking, boisterous Irish woman with high breasts and fiery red hair, who was always among the first to risk her neck boarding a prize. So by comparing two descriptions, we can find that his writing styles differ a lot from the previous one. He described Jane in an unattractive way. So in fact, the description for widow Jane appearance is not a historical fact. So here's my research question. Why does bodies use different styles to describe their images? Or why does bodies describe widow Jane in an unattractive way? And here's my hypothesis. I guess bodies wants to ironize these cultural standpoints. And to support my hypothesis, here are my supportings. The first supporting is a book which was written by Edward Stead. Yeah. This book is called Orientalism. In this book, Seth focuses on how representations of Chinese women were exoticized. In the book, he firstly stated the origin of Orientalism. Orientalism is a Western creation. This concept was fleshed out by other colonial powers, most notably Britain during the 19th century. Orientalism was the lens through which the West viewed the entire Orient, which was considered to include the Middle East, Asian, and Far East. And in the page 4, uh, Edward stated that one, this this absolute and systematic difference between the West, which is rational, developed, humane, superior, and the Orient, which is aberrant, undeveloped, inferior. So the resulting image of East was exotic, erratic, and irrational, while an image of Chinese women is regarded as exotica. And apart from the supporting of this test, illustrations also support my standpoint. So this is a screenshot from a movie named The Pirates of Caribbean at War's End. We can find that the scene also shows widow's string attractive appearance, which is correspond to Barty's description. He was a stinking woman with sleepy eyes and a smile for decade teeth. Her blackish oiled hair shone brighter than her eyes. Uh, and in reality, Chinese women are not ugly as they state. And these are the supportings that I found online. And according to a Portuguese traveler Duarte Barbosa, Chinese males were fair-skinned and well-mannered, while the women had magnificent bodies and were elegantly dressed in cotton, wool, or silk garments. And the second supporting is a Portuguese missionary. He also recorded that the women calmly accepting those of sea coast of the mountains are very white and gentle women, some having their noses, eyes were poisoned. And on top on top of this test, there are some illustrations described the appearance of women. So, in the publication of New Harvard's Traveler Goss, the German astute scholar Anastasian Kuka published his renowned China Illustrator. Although there are few descriptions, the depictions of Chinese women in this book, two extraordinary beauty illustrations stand out as arguably the earliest European illustration in the Chinese style. So from these two illustrations, we can find that Chinese women are not ugly as body said, and they are not ugly as the movie show that. And the next illustration also support my standpoint. So this is a depiction from the History of Pirates of All Nations, which is published in 1963. So in this illustration, we infer that Widow Jane is brave and her appearance was not ugly as they describe in the book. So um and And therefore, the main reason why body is described in an attractive way is that he wants to ironize this cultural standpoint. And at the end of my presentation, I want to end with a citation, which is also appeared in the Orientalism. So he said that the images of Chinese women in literature with dual symbolic meaning of China and a woman, transforming them into a microcosm of European male observers' fantasy of exotic and of women from a distinct cultural standpoint. So that's the two descriptions that I want to state, and these two descriptions are not correspond to historical facts. And here are my bibliography, and thank you for your listening.